Got the group together here. We're going to talk some college sports. Last week, we recognized some of the great fall seasons by high school teams. Let's do it now with colleges.
The one team I liked to really highlight was the Wesleyan football team. They had a 7-1 season. They lost their last game of the year to Trinity, but prior to that, they won the Little 3 championship for the first time since 1970. I mean, you want to talk about a buzz on campus. I had a chance to go to practice, talk to Coach Mike Whalen, who I believe this is his 4th year on campus. He's a former player, and then came back home, coached the team, and been building something special. The former Yale football coach, Jack Sedlecky's his offensive coordinator. So they've been really building, and a couple years ago they said, we're coming, it's coming, it's going to be here. And here they are, they went 7-0, ended up losing to Trinity, but really winning a Little 3 title for the first time since 1970. It was just a great way to close out the year. They were so excited out there.
And making some of their alum proud. Bill Belichick,
yeah,
right?
I mean, Coach Whalen said that Coach Belichick would call once a week to check in on him, see how he's doing, any advice
his daughter's a coach
yeah,
there,
she's I forget what sports she's
lacrosse,
coaching.
right?
Lacrosse, yeah. And so Coach Whalen said, yeah, he called me all the time. Here's a guy who does things behind the scenes that you would never know as far as fundraising, et cetera. But he picks up the phone or texts Coach Whalen.
In fact, he was out videotaping Trinity's practices. It was weird.
Yeah. Didn't work out the way he wanted it to.
But. Yeah, I'm going to stick with the college football theme. But Western Connecticut State University in the season they had really jumped out. And like many people, it really jumped out when Octavius McCoy set the all-time rushing record for yards in a game at any level. But prior to that, we kept looking at scores, I know, on the weekends coming in. Western won again. Oh, this McCoy kid had 300-some yards. So he had 6 touchdowns. So the seed was planted, but when he finally did it, went up there, did a story with McCoy, with Joe Loth, the head coach, who's now in his 3rd year. This is a team that hadn't won a game in a few years. It was kind of like we'd see Western loses 72-0.
59-6.
Yeah. Well, he wins one game the first year, one game the second year, and this year, his 3rd year, they explode to 8-2. They make it to a bowl game. They win the bowl game, and they get all kinds of attention. And one thing I really like, he's doing this with a ton of Connecticut kids. You look at that roster, kids from Brantford, from Milford, from New Haven, from West Haven. I think on his roster there's over 50 Connecticut kids. So he's doing that, from the inside out.
From Stratford?
He's from Stratford, but at Stratford
Real
High.
camera shy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We like him.
Just a little bit, yeah. He's very talkative. He offered to carry my tripod down to the field and some of the equipment.
Let him?
I did let him. I said, why not? He's young. He's athletic. But then I'm down on the ground shooting some shots called the worm's eye, when they look huge, and he wants to run and jump over me. So I'm like, all right, go ahead. Just don't land on me. And he accomplished that a couple times.
I'd love to see him get a look in the NFL. We'll see if that happens. We're running out of time here, but you can't do this without mentioning the UConn field hockey team.
Of course.
Winning its 3rd national championship, right? They had one in 1981, 1985, 2013. So they, tie the UConn men's basketball team for 2nd most national championships in UConn history. We're going to talk more about the field hockey team and some other sports here, but we've run out of time here on television. So for the rest of this conversation, go over to sportsedge.com. Here on TV, we'll be back with more sports for you. So now let me just continue on about the field hockey.
We talked too much, didn't we?
It's okay. It's all right. No, can't get enough. Right. So they beat Duke 2-0, and I think people up at UConn love it anytime you beat Duke. But when you in any sport, but when you beat Duke for the national championship, you shut them out 2-0, and your season at 21-4, a remarkable year at that level. Coach Nancy Stevens is the all-time leader in victories for Division I wins with 572 wins in her career. So she accomplished that this year. I think it was in the victory over Louisville. So you have this great coach. And then you've got, Marie Elena Bowles, who is the player of the year. She won the Hondo Award, an All-American. Obviously, she's the player of the year. She's an All-American. So much publicity coming to UConn. In field hockey. So a tremendous year for the field hockey team.
Yeah, it seems like everything they've been doing up there in other sports. The men's soccer team had a nice run this year as well. Another guy who's been there a while. Well, Nancy Stevens is a woman, but Ray Reed's another guy who's been there for a while. And he gets a lot of success and, pull up the upset of UCLA this year. So a good season for the UConn soccer team.
Right, they come a goal away, 2-1 loss to Virginia. Otherwise, they're heading to the soccer's Final Four. And while we're talking soccer, we should mention the Quinnipiac soccer team. They make the NCAA, right? They win the MAC, their first year in the MAC. They win the conference. They go to the NCAA tournament. They end up losing to UConn in the first round.
Yeah, and they scared UConn up in Stores. And afterwards, Ray Reed even complimented the job that they're doing down there at Quinnipiac. He said, keep an eye out for them because he doesn't think this was a flash in the pan with Quinnipiac. He thinks they're going to be around for a while.
And you guys were talking about Nancy Stevens and Ray Reid, just to go with that topic of head coaches. Rich Kavanaugh this year at Southern Connecticut State decided to retire after 29 years, 170 wins, the most in school history, but going out on his own terms. He just decided that he's had enough, and him and his wife decided. They talked about it all fall. I guess this summer they kind of thought they were going to do it, but the best part about talking to him when he decided, he was so happy. Like, he just seemed relieved and just ready to move on to the next chapter of his life. How many times have we all covered something where you've seen a coach kind of be pushed out the door a little bit? This was not the case. He was going out on his terms, and it was a pleasure to see.
He was happy, but he was also emotional in that press conference. There were a couple times when his lips were quivering, and I mean, this has been his life for so long. And year after year, we've all asked Coach Kavanaugh, so how do you maintain that enthusiasm for the game? And he said, I'll know it when I don't have it, and that'll be the time to get out. So, he said he and his wife are going to go down to Florida and enjoy some sunshine. We should mention volleyball, because we had some success with volleyball teams in the state at the Division I level. We had Yale winning the Ivy League once again and going to the NCAA tournament, and they lost to Utah, in the first round. Fairfield University winning the MAC, going and losing at Nebraska, and then you actually were at
Division II. University of New Haven and Bridgeport played. Bridgeport hosted the East Regional. New Haven ended up upsetting Bridgeport, and then losing in the regional that next night. So, but excellent volleyball action in the state.
And one football team, I think we forgot, Sacred Heart had a terrific year in football as well, where they got, I think they beat by Fordham in a playoff game. Coached by former UConn
Joe Moorhead.
Joe Moorhead, and a couple of UConn Huskies, to Bucky Jones and Mike Niebrick. But who saw that coming with Sacred Heart? They had over 10 wins this year, so there's another team to keep an eye on in 2014.
Hey, let's have the same kind of discussion coming up after the winter sports are done here, and we'll have some successful winter teams at the college level. All right, that's going to do it here on SportsEdge.com. And again, like we did last week, feel free to go on and give us some of the teams we may have missed, or whatever your suggestions are here for some great teams from the fall season. Thanks for tuning in here on SportsEdge.com.